So yeah, we got to talk about this. We got to talk about this here, and it is the most unfair narrative possible. And let's be very honest. We have to talk about the elephant in the room. Sports betting is screwing with all sports. If you are allowed to be bet on, people are going to attack you on social media when you make them lose money. It's bad, and it is the fault of the leagues. It is the fault of Kathy. It is the fault of Adam Silver. It's the fault of the United States government for legalizing sports betting. It is what it is. And the hilarious thing is, again, the team that said player plays for is the one team in Vegas. But let's take a look here. From Cali Finn, this is irresponsible. This is irresponsible. This line right here. This is completely irresponsible. I'm not going to say it's bad faith. It's completely irresponsible. So, Chelsea Gray shares racial abuse she received following the Ace Sunday night loss to the Fever. This comes after Alyssa Thomas spoke out about the issue, which is, again, implying Fever fans went after Chelsea Gray. This is a degenerate gambler who bet on Chelsea's overs, and she didn't register a stat other than turnover in the second half. She had 0.0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks, and a turnover in the second half. She didn't register a single positive stat. And then they click into this guy's profile, and it is a sports gambling account who only follows Paige Bueckers and is based in Dallas. Is it Paige Bueckers' fault? No, it's not. Because unlike some of these people, I'm not unhinged. And by the way, I'm not calling out Chelsea Gray for this. Because let's be real, Chelsea Gray did not specify or did not heavily link this to implying that Fever fans bad, or Caitlin Clark bad, or the league's better without Caitlin Clark. She did not fan the Flames out necessarily, but let's be very clear. This is not the first time. It is wrong. And I have to make this argument that, like, obviously it's wrong, but this is not the first time Chelsea Gray after a bad game has gotten one of these messages. Because if you are an athlete, I mean that, it doesn't matter who you play against. If you click on your message requests and you have let someone down in your parlay because they are a degenerate gambler and they bet on you, you probably, if you've had a bad game, you've probably gotten attacked because of that. If you've heard Jalen Brunson talk about it, every other NBA player talking about it, like, I'm going to be real. Like, this is something that is a problem with sport in general. But again, nothing can be, every single thing wrong has to be Caitlin Clark bad. Has to be Caitlin Clark bad, Caitlin Clark fan bad, Caitlin Clark bad for the WNBA by default. So a fan who only followed Paige Bueckers and is from Dallas, Texas, put a bet on Chelsea Gray. Chelsea Gray hit her unders, didn't hit her overs, and that player racially abused Chelsea Gray. Therefore, Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark bad. Yeah, that's literally what it is. Marina Mabry gets hit with a shoe. And she says, you know what? Having previously had a relationship with Nigel Laney Hamilton, says, you know what? I don't think it was intentional. Therefore, Caitlin Clark bad, and, you know, could have stopped the Alyssa Thomas thing by saying it wasn't intentional. No, you, nor Caitlin believes that what Alyssa Thomas did to Caitlin Clark was unintentional. Let's be very clear. Like, everything is bad. Same stuff happens to NBA players, just not chronically online like the NBA players. I mean, it affects them too. This is a great meme, though. This is a great meme. Shout out to Snapchat and shout out to you for watermarking the meme. This is a great meme. Sorry, was actually Fever. We suggesting this individual was a Fever employee. Chelsea said it happened after they played Indy. Do the math. Fucking dumbass. Almost certainly someone bet on her overs and lost money. Oh, a random talked because they probably bet on her. They clicked on the dude's account and it is a gambling page based on fucking Texas. It is a gambling Instagram. 4-leg parlay, we hit one in a Pistons jersey. This is a degenerate gambler. Let's be very clear. This is a degenerate gambler. This has nothing to do with Indiana. This can't happen after every team plays Indiana. It's because people are watching the game and these guys are literally a degenerate gambler. And people contacting his employer for sending a racist message, good, go for it. Go for it. Like, I have absolutely, like, do you deserve to lose your job for that? Yeah. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do, genuinely. Yeah. I mean that, yeah. Every time the Fever whoops someone, they pull DMs from a random person to push a narrative. Yeah, and then the media will do it. So sick. These are real people throwing slurs. I hate when both platforms claim it's just bots on social media. The trolls aren't real. And like, at least this guy's normally a dumbass didn't heavily imply, to be fair, didn't heavily imply that this is Fever fans. Nothing to do. It's a man as a sports gambling page. Obviously follow Paige Bueckers. The guy follow Paige Bueckers. Is it Paige Bueckers' fault? It's good for the game, Engelbert. What is can't the Engelbert has nothing to do with gambling? Like, do you not realize that back in 2020 and COVID, when there was no, when there were absolutely no sports on other than like Russian football, that those Russian players weren't getting abuse as well? Like, it's an unfortunate thing with allowing gambling on sports, but we can't have that conversation. And again, like, let's not forget this. When Annie posted this, people start blaming Caitlin Clark fans as well. I say, stay away from Angel. Stay away from Angel. Caitlin Clark fans got more to come. I can guarantee you this is going to be Caitlin Clark fans bad. If this is if Megan Hall writes an article about how sports gambling is a net negative for players and it's putting players in danger, and then brings up this situation, I'm all for it. I'm all for it because this is a shit situation that happened to Chelsea Gray. This is a shit situation that happened to Chelsea Gray. But this has now been flipped because this is the original tweet, which heavily implies Caitlin Clark fault. Caitlin Clark bad. Because let's be real. Racism doesn't matter to these people when it's towards Maisha Hines-Allen, when it's towards Aaliyah Boston, when it's towards Raven Johnson, when it's towards Coulson when she was a member of the Fever, when it was towards Dewana Bonner when she signed for the Fever or after her first game. Because every time the Fever have a big win, there's some sort of weird racism narrative that just is false. Like, this is a degenerate gambler. The dolphin noises were dolphin noises. Every time the Fever have a big win, it happens. Every single time the Fever have a big win, it happens. Let's be very clear. And I am not singling out Chelsea Gray for this. I don't know. She just said this a message she received after the Indiana game. I don't know. You can jump whatever conclusion she wants. She mentioned when she got the message, and she is not wrong. But this is heavily implying, and maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. And if I see, I don't even need a retraction on this. If I see any one person in the media say what's actually the issue here, because we haven't seen anybody, can one person in the media bring up the fact that just like NBA players, WNBA players are now on the receiving end of abusive messages? Because, let's be real, Courtney Williams yesterday posted a voice note of her getting abused, of her getting homophobic abuse, and her laughing about it. No one talks about this. Why? Because they can't throw Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever into the conversation. It's as simple as that. This is the exact same thing that happened to both. She got hurled slurs as well. Is it wrong? Of course it's all wrong. Of course it's all wrong, but the media don't give a shit about this, and they care about this. Why? Because one of them can be used to tear down 24-year-old Caitlin Clark. One of them can be used to tear down Caitlin Clark, and let's be very fucking clear. It is selective outrage, and it's always towards one person. And Caitlin Clark's a bigger person than all of us. Because I wish, if I was Caitlin Clark, I would literally, I would have every single screenshot of every single abuse I've gotten, every slur I've gotten, every insult towards where I'm from I've gotten. I would screenshot the tens of thousands of them. I would literally pay someone to go, look, here's my social media. I'm not reading any of this. I want you to collect every single one of these DMs, and I'm just going to release, I'm just going to pretend I got hacked. You get every single one of these, pretend I got hacked, black out my Instagram, or go hack my Instagram, and then suddenly go and leak every single one of these messages to the world. Because Caitlin's a bigger man than me, because I'd do that. I'd do that. Because if my name's being dragged through the mud by people that are supposed to protect, not even necessarily supposed to protect me, by people that are my peers, by people that I personally, I'm saying on behalf of Caitlin, that Caitlin personally is the reason why. I'm not saying she's the reason for the whole CBA, but she's the reason max contracts are 1.4 million instead of 600k. They would have trebled instead of 7x'd. She's the reason Chelsea Gray's making $1 million this year. And Chelsea Gray is still going to make it out as a bad thing. Because obviously, sports gambling is shit. The whole sports parlay thing is a disaster. But it's the same thing happening to two different players. They don't give a shit that's happening to Courtney Williams, but they care that it happens to Chelsea Gray. Why? Because you can attack Caitlin Clark in this way. That is the WNBA media. Prove me wrong. Megan Hall says she's writing an article. Prove me wrong. Callie Finn tweeting this out. Prove me wrong. Write an article about how it's an entire gambling thing. Bring up the Courtney Williams situation. Bring up the NBA players and actually talk about the problem, which is the fact that idiots or degenerate gamblers are losing money. And let's be very real. There's nothing that much more dangerous than a degenerate gambler who's lost money and lost everything. They are legitimately dangerous. There's nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. There's all to do with sports betting being legalized. There's a reason I don't promote gambling on this channel. There is a reason why, if you guys have known me for the last decade in NBA 2K, I've refused to even open packs on the game because I consider that a form of gambling. That was my job for a while. There's a reason why I turned down a $10,000 an hour offer to stream slots back when I was one of the biggest streamers in the world over COVID. There's a reason why I turned down enough money from gambling sites that I would have this house paid off, my other house paid off, and have a third. I'd have this house paid off, my rental other house paid off, and live in a 8-bedroom mansion if I was willing to take gambling sponsorships at my peak. Not necessarily now, but at my peak on YouTube. I would have retired at 25 and never had to work another day in my life with 3 houses. It's awful. It's awful. And I want somebody in the traditional WNBA media to prove me wrong by writing an article on the actual problem instead of attacking one player. And I'm saying, oh, it's not her, it's her fans. When you're demanding a player speak out for a degenerate, when you're going to probably write something that demands a player speak out about a degenerate gambler, or blaming Kathy Engelbert for this, or me saying Kathy needs to step down because of this. Kathy didn't bring gambling into the WNBA. They got in with the NBA's betting partners. You can fault Kathy Engelbert for that if you want to. Again, if you want to talk about the actual topic, but it's not. It's going to be Caitlin Clark brought racism into the league. This is a player who is a degenerate gambler who only follows Paige Bueckers. There should be nothing. If any article is going to mention Caitlin Clark, why? Because everybody knows unless you put Caitlin Clark in your title, you're not going to get clicks if you're a journalist. You do not give a shit what you've done. And let's be very clear. If I am proven wrong, I will put my hand up and say, fair play. But I want anyone in the media that is pushing this bullshit narrative to prove me wrong, that you're actually decent people and that your goal is not to tear down 24-year-olds. Prove me wrong.